Hello, dear audience. In a farm that seems peaceful, where the only sounds are the wind, the insects, and warm family dinners, a shadow has quietly crept in. Tuna, the woman who once chose silence to protect her child, is suddenly confronted by a stranger who grabs her hair and threatens her in broad daylight. If it weren't for the timely appearance of Mrs. Min, would she have made it back safely? And why does this person mention Alex demanding Tuna stay away from him? The pieces of the puzzle are slowly falling into place. A previous threat at the farm, an innocent child named Henry being dragged into danger, and a question that keeps Alex awake through the long night. Who is behind all of this? Could this just be the act of a lone thug? Or is there a hidden hand manipulating everything from the shadows? And if the culprit is someone familiar, how cruel will the truth be? This story is not just about fear, but about the test of love, trust, and the choice between running away or facing it head on. What do you think, dear audience? If you were Tuna, would you stay silent to protect your child, or stand up and reveal the truth, knowing that it could destroy everything? Stay tuned, because the real storm is just beginning. Along the narrow road leading to the farm, the sunset descended heavily like an omen. Tuna walked quickly, the fabric bag pressed tightly against her chest, her heart beating faster than usual. She had a bad feeling, like someone's gaze was following every step she took. The sound of heavy footsteps on the road echoed behind her. "It's you again!" The voice was hoarse, filled with threats, causing Tuna to freeze in fear. Before she could turn around, a rough hand grabbed her hair, yanking it hard, making her stumble and almost fall. A sharp pain shot up to her scalp, and tears instinctively welled up in her eyes. "Let me go," Tuna cried out, trembling her hands, trying to pull away but to no avail. The thug stepped closer, his breath hot and foul in her ear. "I warned you last time. Don't think you can just hide and it will be over. If you keep pretending not to hear..." He pulled her hair harder, his voice dropping low, but cold enough to send chills down her spine. "Next time, it won't just be a threat." Tuna was so terrified that her whole body froze. She didn't cry out loud, only gasped for breath, her pale lips unable to say a word. In that moment, she truly thought she wouldn't be able to escape. Suddenly, "Stop right there!" The shout cut through the heavy air like thunder. The thug turned around in shock. A car screeched to a halt by the roadside. Mrs. Min stepped out, her eyes cold, her voice powerful with the authority of someone seasoned, freezing the atmosphere around them. "What are you doing to that girl?" She walked straight up to him, not backing down. "I've already called the police. If you don't let go, you'll regret it." The thug hesitated. His eyes flicked quickly, recognizing the unwavering determination in Mrs. Min. Finally, he let go of her hair, took a few steps back, and threw Tuna a hateful glance. "Consider yourself lucky." He turned and disappeared quickly into the dark road. Tuna collapsed onto the grass verge, her whole body trembling like a leaf in the wind. She hugged herself tightly, her breath, ragged tears flowing uncontrollably. The threat still echoed in her mind like a dark shadow that wouldn't go away. Mrs. Min hurried to kneel beside her, her voice soft but still shaky from fear. "Tuna, are you okay? Look at you. It's okay? Now it's okay?" Tuna looked up, her eyes red and full of panic. She couldn't say anything, only weakly nodded as the tears kept falling. Her whole body felt like it had just gone through a nightmare in broad daylight. Mrs. Min gently draped her coat over her shoulders, pulling Tuna into a tight embrace, a hug that was both protective and filled with regret and worry. In the empty street, as the car lights passed by, Tuna sat there, trembling, carrying with her the fear that hadn't yet subsided, and a silent storm beginning to creep deeper into their fates. Mrs. Min held Tuna tightly, her hand trembling noticeably. In contrast to her usual tough demeanor, her face was now pale, her eyes showing clear panic. "Tuna, can you hear me?" She gently stroked Tuna's messy hair, her voice choking. "Where's Henry? Why are you alone? How dare that man threaten you like that?" Tuna didn't answer right away. She was still shaking her shoulders, hunched as if trying to withdraw from the world around her. It took a few seconds before she let out a long breath, her voice weak and broken. "Henry, he's at the farm. I was just going to get something and come back." Her sentence wasn't even finished before the tears started flowing again. Tuna instinctively wrapped her arms around her head as if the pain was still there. Mrs. Min was frantic. "Did he hurt you anywhere? Are you injured?" She quickly looked around, checking every small movement of Tu, now her hand gripping her shoulder tightly, as if afraid that if she let go, Tuna would collapse again. No bleeding." Tuna shook her head. "It's just, I'm scared." Just those two words were enough to make Mrs. Min's heart tighten. Without hesitation, Mrs. Min helped Tuna to her feet, wrapping her coat more tightly around her. With her other hand, she pulled out her phone and dialed a familiar number with trembling fingers. "Hello." "Alex." She tried to keep her voice calm, but it still carried an urgent tone. "Come here right now. Tuna's in trouble." On the other end of the line, Alex froze. What happened? A young man blocked her way, threatened her. He grabbed her hair. Mrs. Min's voice faltered, but every word she spoke seemed to carry the weight of suppressed anger. "I'm with her now, but you need to come immediately." The call ended. At the company, Alex was in the middle of some paperwork when his phone vibrated. After hearing his mother's words, everything around him seemed to disappear. "What?" Alex jumped up, his face turning pale, then quickly becoming cold and terrifying. He didn't say another word, tossing the stack of papers onto the table, leaving everyone around him stunned. A few minutes later, Alex was in his car, the engine roaring to life. The only thought running through his mind was this: who dared to lay a hand on Tu? Nah, who dared grab her hair, threaten her? Alex's hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. His chest heaved with anger, each heartbeat like a hammer pounding. The road ahead seemed endless, and every second that passed made him want to go crazy. If I were just a little later, if Mom hadn't been here today. The thought sent a chill down Alex's spine. Back on the side of the road, Tuna was still leaning against Mrs. Min, her gaze unfocused on the ground. She could hear the sound of cars passing by, but every noise made her jump. Mrs. Min hugged her tighter, her voice gentler, but still laced with fear. "Alex is coming. Don't be scared. From now on, no one is allowed to hurt you." Tuna nodded faintly, but the tears kept falling. Deep inside, the fear hadn't faded. It lingered, creeping into every breath she took. In the distance, the sound of an engine grew louder. And when Alex appeared, it was not just a reunion filled with worry, but the beginning of a storm of anger that no one could stop. The car slowly turned onto the familiar road leading home. The yellow headlights cast their glow on the wet, dewy road, highlighting the heavy atmosphere inside the car. No one said a word. All that could be heard was the steady hum of the engine and Tuna's breath, still uneven, coming from the back seat. She sat curled up, her hands tightly clasped together, pale from the tension. Every time the car passed a tree or a dark bend, her body would tremble slightly, as if the shadow of the thug was still lurking somewhere nearby. Alex glanced through the rearview mirror and saw the expression on her face clearly. His heart clenched. The feeling of helplessness and self-blame slowly suffocated him, bit by bit. When they reached the house, Alex quickly opened the door and helped Tuna out of the car. He didn't let go of her for even a second, as if afraid that if he loosened his grip, she would be pulled back into the fear she'd just experienced. Mrs. Min walked beside them, her eyes never leaving Tuna. As soon as they entered the living room, Tuna seemed to lose the strength to hold herself up. She sat down on the couch, her shoulders slumped, her breath shaking. Alex poured her a glass of water and handed it to her. "Drink a little. Calm down first." Tuna took the glass, but her hands were shaking so much that the water almost spilled. She gently set it down, took a deep breath, and then spoke. "Alex." Her voice was quiet and thin, as if she was afraid that even her words could shatter everything. He said, "I need to stay away from you." Her words fell into the quiet room like a thunderclap. Alex froze. Mrs. Min, standing behind them, also stopped, her hand instinctively gripping the armrest of the chair. "He said that," Mrs. Min asked slowly, her gaze becoming serious. Alex stepped forward. What exactly did he say? His voice dropped, trying to stay calm, but underneath it there was a boiling anger. Tuna lowered her head. "He said, if I stay with you, if I stay at the farm, things won't just stop at threats." The air seemed to freeze. Alex turned away, his teeth clenched tightly. In his mind, disjointed pieces started to come together into a terrifying picture. "So," Mrs. Min spoke up, her voice much lower now. "It wasn't random." She looked at Alex, her eyes flashing with deep concern. "There's someone behind this." Tuna stayed silent for a long time. Then, as if she couldn't hide it anymore, she tightened her hands, her voice trembling. "Actually, this isn't the first time." Alex immediately turned around. "What do you mean?" "Before he came to the farm," Tuna spoke slowly, each word cutting into her heart, "he threatened me. And Henry." Mrs. Min covered her mouth, her face turning pale. "Why didn't you say anything?" Her voice choked. Tuna closed her eyes. Tears flowed silently. "I was scared. I was scared you'd worry, scared everyone would panic, scared Henry would have to live in fear." She broke down crying. "I thought if I just stayed silent, if I was more careful, it would all go away." Alex clenched his fists so tightly that they shook. The mix of anger and pain nearly made it hard for him to breathe. "He dared to grab your hair in the middle of the street." Alex spoke slowly, his voice hoarse. "Then he'll dare to do worse things." He stepped forward, kneeling in front of Tuna, looking straight into her tear-filled eyes. "You can't bear this alone. Never." Mrs. Min moved closer and took Tuna's hand, her touch warm but trembling. "Tuna." Her voice softened, full of regret. "If the farm isn't safe anymore, stay here." She looked at her with determination. "I'll take care of Henry. I promise you. Tuna looked up. There was still fear in her eyes, but behind it was quiet strength. I know you're worried about me. She smiled softly, but I'm not afraid of them. Alex immediately shook his head. It's not about being afraid or not, he said firmly. It's because I can't let you and Henry stay there alone. He turned to Mrs. Min. I'm staying at the farm. Alex, Mrs. Min called softly. If they dare target Tuna, then Henry is even more in danger. Alex clenched his fist tightly. I can't take that risk. Tuna stared at Alex for a long time. Her gaze softened, filled with both emotion and worry. You don't need to. Alex cut her off, his voice low but certain. I do need to. He placed his hand on hers. I need to be there to protect you. And the little one. Outside, the wind howled stronger, the window rattling gently. Inside the house, amidst the worry and love, a quiet but firm decision had been made. No one said a word, but everyone understood. From this moment on, they were no longer just facing fear. They were preparing for a battle to protect what they held most dear. It was fully dark now. In a small coffee shop, hidden behind a narrow street, the dim yellow light flickered down onto the table in the far corner. Mai sat there glancing at her watch, repeatedly, her hands gripping her purse so tightly that her knuckles turned white. Since receiving the message to meet, she'd felt uneasy, a cold sensation creeping up her spine. The door to the shop swung open. The thug walked in his coat collar pulled high, his face still tense. He scanned the room quickly before heading straight for Mai sitting down opposite her, without saying a word. He smirked, his voice deep and hoarse. Mai, I've met Tuna. Mai flinched. Met her. Her voice trembled slightly. What do you mean? The thug leaned forward, lowering his voice as if telling an unimportant story. I did exactly what you told me. I stopped her, warned her to stay away from Alex. He chuckled lightly. But yesterday, she got really lucky. Mai held her breath. Lucky? How? He tapped his fingers on the table, his eyes flashing with irritation. Alex's mother showed up just in time. That sentence hit Mai like a sledgehammer. What? Mai jumped up halfway from her seat. Alex's mother. She leaned in close, her voice urgent. Did she say anything? Did she see your face? The thug shrugged, but his expression was no longer as relaxed as before. She screamed in the middle of the street. He frowned, made a big scene, said she called the cops. Mai's face turned pale. Cops? She put her hand over her mouth, breathing quickly. Are you sure? Sure, he responded bluntly. But luckily for you, I got away just in time. If I had been a few seconds later, who knows what would have happened? Mai collapsed back into the chair, her heart racing. The worst images flooded her mind instantly, the cops knocking at the door, rapid-fire questions, Alex's suspicious gaze. All of it sent a cold chill through her. If the police find out... Mai's voice trembled, almost fading. If they trace it back to you, then both you and I are finished. She stared at the thug, her eyes filled with fear and reproach. You're the one who threatened her. If you end up in prison, I won't get out either. The thug smirked, his eyes darkening. You're too calm about this. He spoke slowly. I'm not stupid enough to leave any evidence. No one knows who I am. But Tuna knows. Mai blurted out, she saw you. She can recognize you. He froze for a second. His eyes flashed with irritation. That girl, She looks like a little rabbit." He lowered his voice. She was so scared she won't dare to say anything. Mai shook her head repeatedly. "No, don't be so careless." She clutched her head, her voice nearly breaking. "If Alex finds out this involves me, I'll lose everything." The thug leaned back in his chair, looking at Mai with a mix of disdain and warning. "If you want to stop, just say it." He smirked. "But I've already done my part. Now you can't back out." Mai looked up, her eyes red with both fear and anger. "What do you plan to do next?" He was silent for a few seconds before leaning in closer, his voice low and cold. "LYTUNA won't back off easily. If scaring her away doesn't work," he smirked again, "then something will happen that makes her disappear." Mai froze. She looked at the thug in front of her, for the first time realizing she had gone too far, farther than she had ever imagined. But it was too late. This path, from the moment LYTUNA fell by the side of the road, had no turning back. Outside, the night wind blew stronger, carrying with it a storm quietly forming, and this time, it wasn't just targeting LYTUNA, but would shatter everything Mai had tried to hold on to. The car turned onto the familiar dirt road leading to the farm as the night grew late. The headlights swept over the rows of trees standing still in the dark, their shadows stretching and twisting on the ground like silent figures lying in wait. LYTUNA sat next to Alex, silent, her eyes still carrying the lingering fear that hadn't yet subsided. Alex drove slower than usual, taking every turn with cautious tension. The farm appeared in the dim light, oddly peaceful, as if it had never witnessed the storm silently approaching. They didn't head straight into the house. Alex turned the car onto the narrow road leading to Mrs. Tong's house. The night had deepened, but she was still waiting outside, with Henry wrapped in a thick coat, sleeping soundly in her arms. "The boy is asleep." Mrs. Tong spoke softly, her worried gaze quickly scanning LYTUNA's face. "His mother called and told me to keep him." "I've felt uneasy in my heart too." LYTUNA stepped forward and gently took Henry. When she felt the steady, warm rhythm of his breath in her arms, her heart finally eased. She bent down, pressing her forehead to his silent tears falling without a sound. "Thank you, Aunt." Her voice was so quiet it almost melted into the night. On the way back to the farm, Henry slept soundly in his mother's arms, unaware that his world had teetered dangerously close to disaster. Alex glanced in the rearview mirror, his gaze lingering on the mother and child. For a long moment, a deep fear rising in his chest. At home, LYTUNA placed Henry gently on the bed, carefully covering him with the blanket. She sat beside him for a long time before finally standing up. She turned to Alex softly, saying, "Go to sleep. Everyone's tired today." Alex nodded, but didn't respond. That night, Alex didn't sleep. He sat in the living room, a single small light on. The sound of insects in the fields filled the air, but his mind was a whirlwind. The image of LYTUNA trembling by the roadside, her fragmented words, Henry's frightened eyes when he woke up crying. Everything kept flashing in his mind, overlapping, not giving him a moment's peace. Who was behind all of this? The question drilled into Alex's mind like a sharp needle. It couldn't be a coincidence. It couldn't just be a random thug. He knew LYTUNA. He knew Henry. And he knew Alex. Alex raised his hand to his face, rubbing it hard as if to chase away the fatigue. but the harder he tried, the heavier his head felt. If this was an enemy of his, why go after LYTUNA? If it was someone familiar, who would be cruel enough to use a mother's fear to threaten her, he stood up and stepped out onto the porch. The crescent moon hung low over the dark field, its faint light not enough to push away the darkness. Alex clenched his fist, no matter who it was, if they dared lay a hand on them again. He turned his head toward the room where LYTUNA and Henry were sleeping. His gaze hardened, resolute and cold. That night, amidst the stillness of the farm, a quiet resolve was formed, and the storm ahead, though still hidden, began to rumble in the darkness.
Ta có thể nắm tay có mái nhà trở về và tối hôm đó bên nước lửa bật bùng